Hey Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing okay.
All right, here we go.
I'm doing okay.
All right, hey there, everybody. Welcome to race night. And I don't see Zach, but I see Chuck. Chuck, how you doing?
Doing good. How you doing, Patrick?
I got to give you some advice here. You got to close those drapes that
Oh
are
yeah, I
behind
know.
your head because you're totally backlit.
How's that? Is that better?
Which, well, when we couldn't see you, that was better. But but now we can see you
Can
better.
you guys hear me at least?
Yes, we can, Zach. Give me 1 second, and I know what it is.
Okay. I don't think the
Sorry.
stream can.
Really?
I got you loud and clear.
Yeah,
Can you hear? Can you
I
hear
think I
Zach?
have it on in the background right now, and yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Okay, I'm here now.
Dun,
Very
da, da,
cool.
da. And you have an awesome background there, Zach.
Yeah, no, I'm back in. Shall I call it my personal studio? Yeah. Last time I was on the show, I was in Detroit in my partner's apartment. So.
Right on. So all things Detroit, stay in Detroit.
Uh, Preferably, yeah. It was an interesting time. I had fun. I went to Belle Isle. I got to see like one of the oldest conservatories like in the United States there, which was very cool. But yeah, no, it was an interesting time because the entire time I could just hear the remnants of street racing in the background. Just
Right?
like cars going zoom down that highway, and I'm like, I know exactly what you guys are doing. You just need to come to a racetrack. Like, I don't
Formula
understand.
One echoes, IndyCar echoes, ARCA echoes. There was a lot of cars that have raced on Belle Isle.
Oh, it was wild. Especially, it looked like it could be a fun track. Like honestly, it looked like I'd take a bunch of go karts there and have the time of my life.
Right. That would be cool. Chuck, pull that curtain just a little bit tighter if you can. On the other side. It's a crack right above your head, and the sun is exactly in that crack.
Better now?
No, it's exactly the same.
Not exactly. Is it possible to do like a full 180 so that the sun's coming in on your face?
Hold on. I'm trying to do this kind of like backwards here. Hold on.
There you go. That's better. In the middle. Now you got to pull the other part over.
Pardon us, folks.
It's,
Technical difficulties here.
Yeah, no, it's very technical.
there we
There
go.
we go.
Now we got it. Yeah, that was like a beam of light directly behind your head, and that just wasn't working.
It looked
So
like you were
Jordan,
giving us a sermon.
The
there you
racing
go.
gods
Yeah,
were
yeah,
beaming
yeah.
their
Like
energy
a
towards me. There we
godly
go.
type thing, like ooh,
Yeah.
you know.
The holy choir is just playing in the background.
And now, coming to you from the big stage, the flounder, the announcer at Birch Run Speedway, it's Chuck Darling! Have you ever gotten an introduction like that before?
No, not quite. Usually it's people tone me out a lot.
Well, we're going to have to work on that.
Alrighty. So, I have like a few things. Oh,
Go. You go.
I have a few things just like for tonight. Mainly, I know Patrick and I were talking briefly. We wanted to do just like a recap show because the last few shows have just been packed with so much like stuff and news about what's happening in Birch Run and what's happening in the Speedway. And we just thought that we needed to talk about all of the wild things so that if there's any new viewers or if anyone didn't into the previous ones, that they could be caught up to what crazy stuff's going on with like the exciting news that was unveiled one night with an entire like announcement that they're paving like more of the track than I can ever like quantify. It's the parking lot, it's more slabs, it's more available to the drivers, and then they're making it more affordable for them at the same time. It's just wild.
Yeah,
so we went through a slideshow presentation last week with Jason, okay? And what you have happening is you have the small track being completely repaved, okay? And they're going to work on the transitions between the small track and the big track. So 3/4 of the small track is going to be completely repaved. They're not touching the big track. And so they're going to massage the transition between the little track and the big track. So it's a nice smooth transition from the new surface to this, I want to call it the older surface. It'll be the older surface now. It used to be the new surface, right? Now the new surface will be the old surface, but a nice smooth transition. Then they're putting in a whole new entrance and paving it so that when these rigs come in, they got a nice straight shot into the pits. They don't have to do that little snake thing and make that tight corner. And and then all kinds of cement because the pit pads are going to be concrete. They're not going to be asphalt. So you're going to have a whole bunch of new pads put in, and they're putting in 800 tons of crushed concrete in the backside of the backside pits between there and the creek. That's a historically low wet area. And they're going to build it up and cover it in crushed asphalt or crushed concrete, rock. I don't exactly remember, but something that'll allow the water to drain through, the vehicles to rise up above the water, and prevent a little bit more of a barrier from the water that comes off that creek when there's heavy precipitation.
Yeah, lots
so
of
I remember, yeah, lots of improvement. I remember specifically when I was staying at Birch Run, well, it was Dixie then, when that creek would get exposed to a lot of rain, it would actually just flood parts of the pits because it would flow and reach up into that part. So combating that and allowing for, because I remember practice sessions were being canceled just because there was nowhere to park kind of things. And getting it so that we can still host those events is definitely along the lines of improvement.
Chuck goes all the way back to the days when Birch Run was dirt, don't you?
Yeah, the old Gator Pit, the outside dirt perimeter. Kind of missed that in a way, but progress is progress, and we have a beautiful facility. With the money that Andy Susky is putting into the place and the plans that Jason and Jeff have in place to draw in more racers, save the racers money. It's just going to be a banner year in 2022 for Birch Run Speedway.
You touched on it right there. You talked about saving racers money. What are, to the best of your recollection, and Jack and I will add to it, the changes that are in place for 2022 at Birch Run?
Well, first off, there no registration fee. I mean, that's kind of unheard of nowadays. So it's basically you pay your pit pass and you go racing. So
that's $100 right off the top.
Exactly. And no transponder fees. We're going to provide
$25-$30 a night.
Exactly. It's just cost saving after cost saving, and the pavement that they're doing is going to save abrasion on the driver's tires. So there's another cost saving bonus right there. It's just everything that Bertrand has in place for 2022 is sure to draw in new drivers, old drivers, and if you look at the listing of drivers that are have said that they are going to make at least one show or the whole season, I mean, that list is pretty long, and some of them names haven't been at Birch Run Speedway in quite a while, so it's good to see some of them names coming back.
I never want to see another track not do well. It's best when all the tracks do fantastic. But with Auto City running a super, super small schedule, right? I think there's only 2 or 3 racing events for the entire season. The opportunity for all of the pavement nation on the east side of the state to congregate in one place on Friday nights, that's Birch Run.
Most definitely. The interest, I mean, since Jason and Jeff took over, has been continuously going on a rocket ship up. And you just constantly see drivers, fans even, they're like, hey, what's the buzz going on about Birch Run? You know, with our social media presence, with the stories we've done, with Under the Hood, with the video podcast, with everybody sharing all this information, you know, word is getting out. And I mean, with our key events being, you know, the 3 JEG CRA Triple Crown races, as well as our 2 super late models, our 4 Friday Night Thunder Modified Series races, the $5,000 to win downright awesome modified race. I mean, it's a no-brainer for drivers to come to a place where the effort is being made to treat the drivers fairly and provide a well-balanced area for fans to come and have a good racing experience, as well as the concert experience that we have on the Fridays before the JEG CRA races.
Zach, why don't you talk about those concerts a little bit? Do you know exactly who's coming, or do you have an idea of who's coming?
I personally have no idea who's going to be at the concerts.
The opener is going to be Steve Armstrong and the 25-Cent Beer Band on Friday, April 29th.
And so that's part of the CRA event, right? That's like the practice in the afternoon, and then there's going to be like a CRA party concert thing in the evening.
Yep, exactly. They're going to have practices for JEG CRA as well as all of our regular classes on that Friday. And then they will end that at 5 o'clock, I believe it is. And they'll have an autograph session, driver meet and greet in the concourse area, and then the concert's set to follow right after that. And that's going to be every Friday before the JEG CRA race.
Right, so that'll be all 3 events are going to do the same thing.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
Cool. The people that haven't been to Birch Run in a couple of years are thinking they're going to do a concert at Birch Run. How's that going to work? We're going to be in the stands, and there's going to be a band in the infield. That's not the way it is. Tell them how it is, Chuck.
It's actually set up off to the side in the main concourse area. There is a concert stage up there, and it's a great event. We have picnic tables set up out there. It's a great place to, you know, bring your family, sit back, chill. You know, you meet some of the stars of tomorrow. You know, look at Carson Hocevar. You know, he's racing in the truck series. He was there participating in the autograph session last year. So you never know. You might get that future NASCAR stars autograph when they were at Birch Run Speedway practicing, and then you cap it off with the concert that night.
If you watched the Cup race, you would have saw Elliott raced at Birch Run.
Mm-hmm.
Jones raced at Birch Run. Blaney raced at Birch Run. Allgaier raced at Birch Run. Those are 4 off the top of my head, and I think there's more.
And
actually, that, but we also host a lot of old veterans at Birch Run that just decide to come out occasionally. I remember when I was a part of it, it was a huge deal to have older drivers come and just see the events and stuff like that. So there's always a chance that in the midst of all this, that one of the retirees from the older cups comes out and sees what's happening here in Michigan. It's one of the prime spots to go and see racing, and it's exciting news every development. And I would, if I were them, I would be entirely interested to see what the new management and the new track's going to look like.
When we talk about the stage, it isn't like a platform. It is a stage. It's like a hat shell. It's designed specifically for the point of putting on productions, whether it's a live theater event or a music event, or even if you wanted to hold a public meeting and you wanted to have a stage where people were elevated and it could be seen. It's really a multifunctional use facility.
Oh, definitely it is. We've attended several of the concerts out there. The Rock Show put on a really good concert out there the last time we were there. And the sound is great. The atmosphere is great. I mean, it's just a good way to spend a Friday night. And like we alluded to, you never know who's going to be there for JEG CRA. You might get the next Chase Elliott. You might get the next Carson Hocevar, coming out there. And, come out early for, the practice session and then hang around for the concert afterwards. I'm sure, I've heard great reviews about Steve Armstrong and the 25-cent beer band, so that should be a really good country concert right there.
Zach,
Yes.
I was just throwing you the ball.
Oh, okay. So I know that we've talked a little bit about the Downright Awesome Night. We name dropped it. That was a show that we talked about on like Volume 3 or EPC, whatever we're calling them. Did we want to expand a little bit more about what that race is and what that night's going to be all about?
Well, I really think we should, because what started as this kind of cute idea and let's do something for the down folks, and then all of a sudden a couple of racers got involved that have really strong passion for the subject, and then some sponsors got involved, and now this is a pretty big deal. This has grown into the most significant modified race on pavement in Michigan in 2022, maybe. Probably the most significant one. I mean, Brian Heaney Memorial at Spartan and this Downright Awesome Night, those are got to be the two biggest mod nights in the entire state.
Well, it's going to be right up there, definitely for sure, with $5,000 to win. And we're going to just be drawing drivers left and right coming for that. And the main thing is that it's to raise awareness for Down syndrome. I know Tiffany, I know Sarah, they're putting a lot of effort into it, working behind the scenes, trying to secure more sponsors. One of the really cool things that Sarah has suggested, and that we may be implementing, and more than likely it's going to happen, is that we're going to partner each driver up with one of the kids there that night.
Oh,
so they're going to be the unofficial, official pit crew or crew chief for the night. And we may be working on doing driver introductions as well, and introducing their crew chief for that night as well too.
That would be cool.
And not only that, but talk about dedication to a cause. They've redone their modified in such a way that it's got the allies, it's got almost the entire thing head to toe is autism awareness. There isn't a sponsor on there that isn't contributing to their cause, and it's just heartwarming to see the dedication they're willing to go for this and this event alone. Seeing them put all of that effort into raising awareness and giving kids an experience that they're not going to forget.
No, absolutely, you're spot on. I actually have a picture of the car right here, and I'm just going to grab it real quick. and toss it up here because people are like, what's he mean? What's he talking about? I'm not sure I understand, right? Well,
Oh yeah,
just
no, it
do that.
was. They hinted at it on their show a little bit
There you go.
before, and oh my gosh, look at that scheme.
And that was already a fantastic looking car. Like at the end of the season
Yeah,
last
no,
year, most people would have pushed that in the garage, covered it with a cover, and said, "Mwah, done." And they tore it all off and redid the whole thing.
oh my gosh, and the yellow's is so striking.
Yeah, it jumps out. You can't miss it. It'll look great in Victory Lane. Not that there's any pressure,
Oh
Nick.
yeah. You're just the your wife's the host of the show. You got to make a showing.
There
Like,
you
come
go.
on, top five at least.
Got to keep those sponsors happy.
Yes.
Now,
Well,
something
and
we didn't
then
really get into, I'm sorry I'm going to step in here for a little bit, but I don't want to miss this because last week, this might have been the biggest news of the show, but we ran long and we really didn't get to talk about it. So, Erik Jones, Carol Jones, the Erik Jones Foundation, Jason Lord, Christy Lord have put together this foundation event that's going to take place right away in May at Birch Run Speedway. And I think Chuck has more details on this.
Actually, that's the first I'm hearing it.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
knew I knew you had alluded to it a little bit last week, but yeah, I'm very interested to hear about it. I know Erik was the Grand Marshal or ambassador last year for the Back to the Bricks event, and there's a picture of him next to our pace car that's at the track. So to hear that Bertrand Speedway is going to be hosting an Erik Jones Foundation event, that's pretty awesome.
yeah, it is really cool.
hmm well, and Erik very much had a lot of his events ended up happening at Birch Run and uh, at the Speedway, and it was just incredible to see the talent that he had in our shows, and then not only that, but then see how he applied it in the short tracks up in the truck series, and then eventually the cup itself. And not only that, but getting back to coming back to Michigan is going to be awesome, just to host something that has his name on it and maybe inspire some more people to continue down his route as well.
For folks that don't know, the Erik Jones Foundation is basically a three-focused or a three-pronged foundation that's primarily focused on igniting children's passion for reading, encourage early cancer detection, and promote and provide animal welfare. Now, if you follow Erik's Twitter account, he's not so busy on Facebook, but he's really busy on Twitter. He's got a dog that he just loves with every ounce of his body. And I think that's one of the things that drives his passion to say, hey, I really care about animals. I really love my dog, and we're going to do something to help animal welfare. Then, of course, we had the unfortunate incident with his dad, right? And that's all about early detection. Because if he had known 2 years earlier, 3 years earlier, that whole thing might have been avoidable. And so that's something for him and Carol that's really important is go out, get tested. Guy, if you're 50 years old, go get that prostate test, right? I mean, yeah, it sucks. It takes 15 minutes. It's embarrassing as hell, but you got to do it, right? Have you done it, Chuck?
It's a life-saving procedure,
I will
and
be
if detected early.
at the bequest of my wife. Yes, I will be.
I have to admit that I am 54 years old, and for 4 years, I've been putting it off. And I know I shouldn't. And recently, one of my partners in my other business actually detected positive for prostate cancer. And he caught it really early, and they're going to be able to treat it. And he's like, Patrick, this could have been you. And so we're going to do something about it here as soon as we get back to Michigan.
Well, and especially if it's detected early, the symptoms are much more treatable. I've had several friends who had an adult in their life who put it off and they never caught it even remotely in time. And so being out there and being an advocate for older gentlemen to get tested, make sure you're safe. You know, I know it's a matter of pride for a lot of them, but the fact of the matter is your pride really worth your life that much?
Exactly.
At the end of the day,
And
it really
honestly,
isn't.
it's not that unprideful. It's really just a barrier that you build in your own mind, right? I mean, it's not. It's all of the pure pressure jokes we make as a kid, a little bit of uncomfortableness with our own anatomy, and we build it up to be a bigger thing than it really is.
Hmm.
So we got some comments coming in on Facebook right now, and they dovetail into some of the stuff. Rich France wants us to remember that the Hot Shoe 100 is also a really big modified event, and I'm sorry that slipped my mind, but it's true. The Hot Shoe is a really big modified event. Um, Eric Gilbert mentioned that there's a huge pile of local racers that don't necessarily follow the CRA who are coming back to Birch Run, and he's really ecstatic about welcoming them back to the Dixie, right? And then a local racer that moved down south, Robert Hughes, says checking in from Indy. So props to Robert for watching from Indianapolis. We appreciate you watching the show. And Erik tagged Jason Hitzman. And Chuck, I'm going to throw that to you because I actually am not sure who Jason Hitzman is. Do you?
Jason Hitzman, driver of the orange and white number 77. I believe he was the champion at Onaway Speedway in the, I want to say, C class or B class up there last season. Came down and ran with us one of the nights, and I went over and talked to him, and he said, I was kind of asked to, come out tonight, and I'm like, well, we're happy to have you, and he said, yeah, he said, I know about like 10 other guys that have their cars parked in the garage, and I'm like, tell them to bring them on out. It's a whole new ball game here at Birch Run Speedway. So I think that's why if you look down that list of names that have indicated that they are running one or more races with us, you'll see some familiar names from the old factory stock days that are coming back just because of the buzz that's being built around Birch Run Speedway.
And that's fantastic news. It really is. That's what
Well,
racing needs.
especially it's an exciting time if you are going to be, if you're someone who is not all too familiar with the racing scene, but you want to still try and get involved in some way. We had Nate Rowe on here a few nights ago. He was talking about opening that new mini wedge like series that we're going to run at the Speedway, like 4 different events. And he's like, get on Facebook Markets, ask some guys around, and they will more than happily. Nate was more than happy to give out like his phone number and be like, hey, if you need to know anything about these cars, I've been doing this for a little bit, and there are these wonderful things for kids to get used to the idea of racing, as well as get into a competitive spirit and see what the mechanics of all that is like. There's not a whole lot of young driver programs that are very affordable, but if you get any wedges, it's a much better alternative than fully investing into a car and not so sure with a young driver kind of thing. It's a nice trial run to see if you want to get into the big leagues.
I really think they are the most race car for an entry level racer. You'll hear people all the time say, "Oh, I'm going to get my kid into quarter midgets, or I'm going to get my kid into like the cars that you used to run over at Spartan."
The
The
Bandoleros.
Bandoleros, and there's another small car series like that too. But those cars, sometimes you can spend $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, but it's for marginal improvements where the mini wedges are they're built in such a way that it's accessible to a lot. It's an accessible learning experience for everyone to get involved and learn about. Okay, this is how you actually race a car. Because a lot of people just are like, man, my kid could do that. It's just going in a circle and having some fun.
Right.
And it's like, okay,
All
sure.
into it.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Try not to roll it over. Try not to hit anything, right? You were.
Oh, yeah, no. I rolled mine as well as I've done a lot. I ended up hitting multiple teammates in a car wreck too. That was not cool. So taking my own brother out with me sometimes, or yeah, no. But those experiences I've held on to since, and I tell people about, and they're like, "Bro, those stories are cool as heck. Why? Where did you get that? Where do you get that experience from?"
They're
And
lifetime
it's
memories.
just
They really are. They're lifetime
Mhm.
memories. Even if you decide that I don't want to get into racing, I don't want to go on any farther, whatever. They're lifetime memories.
which was a
Families.
decision. It was a decision that I eventually made. I was like, well, I don't. This racing thing isn't exactly for me. I want to go to college. I want to, I want to use my book smarts and stuff like that. And that was a decision that I eventually made. But it was still like when I tell people stories, I'm not telling them about, my 80-page paper that I wrote in history that was incredibly informative on silver prices in China in 860. No one wants to know about that. Not even the teacher in the class wants to read about that. They want to know about your racing stories. So
Absolutely. And it's mom, it's dad, it's brothers, it's aunts and uncles and grandma and grandpa. It really is a fundamental, basic salt of the earth. It is the red, white, and blue American experience. And if you're out there and you're thinking you want to do something with your kid this summer, check out a mini wedge. We need to have like bum, 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 music going in right there, right? Fireworks going off or something.
yes, no, and then we need to hook up with like someone who like just has these pre-built and just have their link go across the screen.
Chuck
Yeah.
was gonna do that. I mean, I don't know. You know, if it isn't racing, that's a red, white, and blue thing. It could be a little bit of bowling that's a red, white, and blue thing. And we would be amiss if we didn't give Chuck some time to talk about the bowling fundraiser and the Marf thing they did, not this past weekend, but the weekend before.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah,
It's important.
we had our fifth annual Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club bowling tournament presented by the good folks at Northside Towing and Service, Jeff Finley, Dale Spencer, the whole crew at Northside. I mean, they've been a big, huge help coming on board as the title sponsor of that event. It was held at Royal Scott Golf and Bowl in Lansing, and 46 bowlers, and we raised close to $1,600 to split between the Randall Gittner Memorial Benevolent Fund and Racing for Miracles this year. So that was really cool to do that, and I did just get confirmation today that our sixth annual will be held on March 18th next year at Royal Scott Golf and Bowl as well. We can't thank them folks enough. We lost our original bowling alley, Capitol Bowl in Owasso, unfortunately, due to numerous issues with COVID, and then deciding to sell. Tom and Teresa Tracia sold the facility, and we kind of scrambled, and Royal Scott was more than willing to take us in, and we've been there for the last 2 years, and we thank them for hosting us. And we're just looking forward to doing it again. Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club, the best deal in all of auto racing. $15 for a single and $20 for a family membership. Free nights into the races and monthly newsletter. Year-end banquet celebrating all the track champions. And want to say a shout out to Wild Bill Barnhart, outgoing president of Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club, and welcome in John Jackson as the new president.
I talk with John occasionally on Facebook. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah, most definitely. Everybody associated with Marf is really good, really down to earth, and most importantly, they're race fans. They come from all over the state to help support.
It's kind of a hard transition, but you were talking about racing miracles. And when I think of a racing miracle, I can't help but think of safety equipment. One of the other big announcements that Jason made last weekend was talking about all of the new safety equipment that the track has invested in. And so people who missed that announcement or weren't aware of it, there has been some big dollars spent at Birch Run before an accident ever happened so that it never happens. Or if it does happen, we talk about how this guy walked away. And Zach, you heard some of that. Chuck, you heard some of that. Pick up on it a little bit as far as you know, and I'll fill in the cracks.
Well, from what I was able to catch, we're going to have our own in-house safety. We purchased an Avalanche that is going to be, that I think it's probably by now lettered up with Birch Run Speedway safety. We have an ambulance on site that's going to be ready to assist with any emergencies, and a practically brand new Jaws of Life system that is really awesome to hear that we're being proactive. You know, we don't want to be behind the 8 ball, as Jason said, when it comes to safety. We want to be ahead of the game. And also really cool is the addition of the fire suppression system that will definitely make sure that we don't see anybody's car burned down to the ground.
That is a huge improvement. I mean, as a guy that should have got burnt, right? I had an accident at Owasso, and I should have got burnt. Now, I don't know how bad I should have got burnt, but I should have had some singes, right? And it was just pure dumb luck that car didn't catch fire. But if it had caught fire, knowing what I know now, I wish it would have caught fire at Birch Run and not someplace else.
There is a paramount importance to keeping everyone safe here at Birch Run, and not only that, but just in racing in general. This is a sport that we would like to eliminate, all fatalities from, and to make sure that everyone's okay. It's part of the sport. It's dangerous. It's, they're giant fire-breathing engines that roar so loud that you can hear them from miles away. We try to do everything that we can to make sure that the drivers and their families are going to be safe when they attend a night at the races at Birch Run.
It happens so fast. It's 30 gallons of race fuel and a spark. And it's not just 30, because generally if it's an incident, there's more than one involved, which means it's 60 gallons or 90 gallons or 120 gallons. And it just takes one spark, and things can go bad really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and definitely.
Well, and not only that, there are All right, you go, Chuck.
Sorry.
I need the mic
like
button.
we said,
I'll mute Zach and give Chuck the floor. Go, Chuck.
we want to be proactive. The drivers put a lot of time into their cars, and we respect, all the safety features that they have to. So at Birch Run, it only makes sense to put our money where our mouth is and show the racers and the fans too, because you never know when we're going to have a medical emergency in the stands. Exactly. That we can be on top of it right away. And we're just showing our commitment to the racers and the fans by being proactive and purchasing all this equipment for use just in case.
And as a reminder, for the people that are watching, they are lowering your costs and they are spending money on your safety to save you money on tires, to improve the racing. So normally those things go up together or they go down together. But Andy and Jeff and Jason and the entire team at Birch Run, the costs are going down and the benefits are going up.
I've got a hello here from Germany, watching
Wow.
from overseas. One of my friends is tuning into my Twitch stream over here, uh, and he's joking about the American experience, the good old red, white, and blue.
Right.
But he's excited to see the developments that are happening. So I just want to shout him out.
Right. That's cool.
So
Chuck, have you and Ed last year, you guys, I mean, you guys have known each other for a long time and you've worked a little bit here and there. It seemed like over the course of the season, you were starting to develop a rapport. Do you guys have any plans for 2022? Do you got any like surprises set up, or have you invested in any new equipment, or what's happening there?
No, it's going to be pretty much the same old. That I mean, Ed and I have known each other for years through, Michigan Short Track Racing Club when back in the day. And then he actually was the first one that reached out and asked me to fill in for him when he was announcing at Springport. And I had never called a race before. And he was like, "You're a race fan. All you got to do is talk about racing." So I credit him for getting me into this originally in the first place. But, the thing is we work so good together. It's always nice to have that extra voice there to go off from, because I think when people hear myself and Ed, when we're calling the races, we time it. There's a little bit of timing that goes into it about when we pick up when one person ends off, and we can crack jokes with the best of them. I mean, I've got a face made for radio. That's why I try to stay up in the tower as much as I can. But it's going to be, our traditional driver interviews. We might, for some of the special events, throw, some on-track introductions in there. I know we've been talking about, possibly going through the crowd at some points, when there's a little bit of a lull, and, maybe interviewing some of the fans, getting their perspective on how things are going, as long as it's PG. We don't want a hot mic situation where we're going to kind of regret it. But yeah, it's just going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to working with Ed again. I mean, it's honestly a blessing, and it's kind of humbling at the same time to be in the situation that I am. I mean, I've been a fan of racing for as long as I can remember, and to look at the picture of me on the back of Mike Eddy's car in the parking lot at Dixie back in like '83, and to see me sit up in the grandstands and in the tower now and call the races, it's really quite humbling, and I'm just very, very thankful.
I, I think back to when I first started getting involved in racing, and I don't even know if Chuck even remembers this. He might remember this, but we're talking like the early 2000s, late 90s at Owasso Speedway. And I used to roll in with my kids, who were just kids at that point, right? And this guy and his mom used to sit right in front of us almost every week at Owasso Speedway. And later I would come to learn those people that were sitting in front of me, that we played quarters with sometimes and we talked racing with sometimes, was Chuck Darling.
Yep, I'm a semi-professional bleacher creature turned semi-professional co-announcer.
It's just one of those things where over the course of time you discover how tight knit the racing community is. And sometimes if you're from outside the community and you come in, you don't understand how tight that weave is.
Yeah, it definitely, the circle of the family of auto racing gets really tight knit. We're there for each other. If we've got new people coming in, we're willing to, lend them a hand, show them how we do things. And like you said, you alluded to, playing quarters. I remember going to Spartan Speedway and walking away $13 richer, betting $1 on each of the races.
Right.
So, I mean, there's all sorts of fun times to be had, in local auto racing. I can't say enough about the community. And the other thing too, we got to touch on, or we should touch on, is the Good Neighbor Nights that Bertrand is doing. I mean, if you go on our website and look under the news releases, you'll see that every night there is a free night for different communities throughout the area. That all you do is show your photo ID at the gate, and you get in free for that night. I know. I think it's Lapeer. I want to say Lapeer, Reese, and Chesning maybe are the first ones on April 30th that get to see the JEG CRA race for free. So that's pretty cool.
I'm actually clicking in really quick into that into the website to try and grab that real fast, because that's something people are going to want to know.
Oh, definitely.
But we remind people that on Sunday, April 10th, we're going to have a pre-registration party. I say we. It's not really we. It's Birch Run, because race night is not Birch Run, right? Like, race night is working cooperatively with Birch Run, but we are not Birch Run in and of ourselves. And for Zach, it gets even more complicated, right? Because his parents are part of, or his dad is part of that. And so if I say we, just realize that's a Freudian slip, I guess.
It's a inclusive yet exclusive term, because
Exactly.
yeah, we're independently cooperating.
Exactly. Well, you know, we don't talk about it as much because we're still working out exactly how we're going to do all this, but we're going to be at Birch Run, we're going to be at Springport, we're going to be at Merritt, and we're going to be at Tri-City. And we don't hardly talk about Merritt or Tri-City at all yet, because they don't really start racing until May, and we're just ramping up the Merritt Tri-City coverage. And pretty soon we'll be doing one of these live shows focused on Merritt and Tri-City, and another one on Springport, just like we do with you and Chuck and Jeff and Jason on Birch Run. So anyways, I said we, they, pick whatever gender pronoun works best for you. There's going to be a pre-registration party on April 10th. And Chuck probably has a little more information on that.
Yeah, April 10th, starting at noon, driver registration party, sign up. There's going to be free drinks, free hot dog chips to the first 100 participants. Everybody that signs up that day gets a commemorative 2022 Birch Run t-shirt. And there's going to be cornhole, music, all sorts of good fun times. Also, an employee meeting is going to take place from 10 to noon, and then from noon till, I believe that's like 5 o'clock or something like that, is when everything's going to wrap up for the driver registration party.
One of the things that I also know you're looking at, and I see it on the news and notes here, is that you're recruiting Sparse Spangled Banner singers.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing that Jeff and Jason are big on. We want to give people a chance to show their pipes, if you will. They can submit to Jason and Jeff, I believe. It might just be Jason, through the Birch Run website.
I personally would not let Jeff evaluate any singers. I have much more confidence in Jason's ability on singers.
So you can submit YouTube videos, TikTok videos, sound clips, or whatever for your chance to sing the national anthem. Announcers are definitely excluded from that.
You know, I went to New Smyrna Speedway. This is a tangent. I'll keep it short. But I went to New Smyrna Speedway here in January, and they have a young man who is their track announcer who sang. And he was awesome.
Yeah, no, and I have a good set of pipes on me too. I was in musical theater for 5+ years, so who knows? Maybe I'll be able to sneak in one of the shows, but you'll never know.
It's a.
I'll stick to singing carpool karaoke.
Yeah, where the volume's just turned up just loud enough that you can't tell who's singing anymore.
Exactly.
As I'm reviewing my notes here, I don't want to forget Joan Jett. People are going, Joan Jett? What's Joan Jett? Again, part of the investment made at the racetrack. You have a new, I call it state of the art, right? It's not like we're going to see this at Talladega, but it probably was the unit they used at Talladega 10 or 12 years ago. And it's a nice blower.
Yeah, that's definitely going to speed up the cleanup process. It's going to help get some of that oil dry off the track just a little bit faster. Also, we're going to give the kids a chance to dance. And we're going to play some music over the PA and get them to dance when Joan Jett's out there doing her thing, cleaning up the track. And then we'll get it back to action and calling the races as quick as we can. But that's another true investment that, we're showing that, hey, we want the program to be sped up. We want safety to be a priority. We want the driver experience to be beneficial. And we want the fans to come out and come to America's Short Track Experience and tell their friends, tell their neighbors, hey, Birch Run is the place to be on Friday nights and select Saturdays.
And there you go. I found that good neighbor thing. It took me a second to find it before we move on and I forget about it. That first Saturday night of racing on April 30th, Chesaning, Reese, and New Lothrop. And then the following week, it's Bridgeport and Flushing. On the 13th of May, it's Munger and Frankenmuth. On the 20th of May, it's Genesee and Montrose. And on on Memorial Day weekend, it's Zilwaukee, St. Charles, and Shields. That's May. If you want to grab the rest of the schedule, go to birchrunracing.com and you can find the Good Neighbor post.
I did want to briefly mention there was another, guest we had. It's a little bit darker than the theme that we've been having, but it deserves its own spot just the same. Mike Finley was on a few weeks ago talking about the importance of mental health and suicide awareness and his Amber Lusinski Memorial Race, and talking about, I thought that that one mentioned as well. That's an event that's upcoming. That race is just as important as the other ones, and it's very important for every aspect of our lives to try and focus on mental health and focusing on making sure that people are safe and within from each other and from themselves, kind of thing. And that race, I think, is going to be an exciting show with a bit of a melancholy tone, unfortunately.
It is. And one of the things that racers need to remember, and I think this is easily overlooked and sometimes undervalued or underreported, is that the majority of people that are involved in racing are sort of that alpha personality type. And alpha personality types are not the type that are going to reach out for help, right? They're not trained, they're not programmed to say, I have a weakness and I'm going to tell somebody what my weakness is, right? They generally keep it closeted. And often in racing, we're surprised when we learn of when an incident like this happens and we go, God, he seemed like such a happy guy. He seemed like such a normal guy. And we're surprised that it happened. And then afterwards, when you start learning a little bit more and there's this person that says, well, I thought maybe I saw something or he said something one night and blah, 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 blah. And racers sort of have that mentality that it's a kind of hands-off, right? If you see something, say something, right? And that's all I got on that.
Yeah, just taking the time to say, hey, how is everything going?
Right.
If you see somebody that, is usually upbeat and they look a little down, take the time to say, hey, what's going on? I've got an ear, let me know what's going on. Maybe just that little bit of interaction will help. And, that event, the Amber Lusinski Memorial, that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to bring awareness, mental awareness. And like, I believe Mike said it, just taking the time to ask somebody how they're doing could mean, the world to them, that somebody actually reaches out and cares. So that's another great event that Birch Run is hosting. And we're happy to have Mike and his family there to put it on.
And racers are observant, right? Like, we notice when the racing groove moves 3 inches one direction or the other direction, right? And you can hear, I smell a little bit of whiff of this, or you hear a little tap of that. I think more often than not, we know when we know somebody and we see them in the pits every weekend, and we're like, his car's doesn't look the same. Like, he's not spending the time on it like he used to, or he's not happy when he should be happy, or he's overly sad when he's overly sad. You shouldn't have to, see their sign, right? I mean, we can be a little bit observant, and you're not gonna make a lifelong enemy by walking up to somebody out of the blue and saying, "Hey, how's everything going? How you doing? How you feeling? Is everything all right?" Like, you don't have to wait to ask that question.
Mm-hmm. It's a common courtesy that happens in the pits very often. For some divisions, I remember when I was racing in my group of kids, it was very much a thing where if one of us was down and out, everyone's families was on. Like, we very much wanted races to be won on the track and never due to, extenuating circumstances. And mental health is one of those extenuating circumstances. I remember personally, I had an experience with, I was getting a lot of pressure from, trying to perform in school, while trying to perform on the track, while trying to perform, to get accepted into college. And so with all that in mind, I had to withdraw myself from racing in general, and just because it was one more stressor that I couldn't handle in my life. And so, I'm grateful to have, the people in my life that were able to talk to me and tell me, hey, it's okay if you don't want to do this, kind of thing. You don't,
Right.
It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be a fun sport. You're not meant to throw at this and, walk away more miserable every night. And as long as you are there at the race night having fun, it's going to be a wonderful, distressing experience. You get to do something with a bunch of people who very much consider themselves your friends and, want to be in, people will talk about, rivalries and stuff like that, but these guys are just under the tension of like, man, I want to get that championship. I want it so bad. Very, very little in racing at the end of the day is about punching the other guy in the face. Right. That's mainly high-strung emotions
spilling over, right? I mean, like we said at the beginning here, they're alpha personality types, and the passion is going to spill over sometime. And that passion is on both sides of the fence. I mean, it's on the pit side, but it's in the grandstand side too. I mean, they have their favorites. They're fanatics for a reason. They're race fans, and that's just how it is.
The most incredible amount of self-control that I have seen in racing was when, I don't remember his name, there was a modified driver in Springport, and he got kind of shafted, to put it lightly. His car was totaled, he was in a race, and he was out of the running. And he got out of his car, and normally when drivers get onto the racing service, everyone in like Speedway safety on the radio is like, get him off the track, because they don't want like people throwing helmets or something like that. But he goes over to the guy who, we determined was the cause of the incident, and just shook his hand. And that, to me, I was like, I thought there was going to be blood on the streets, riots were going to ensue, and that took an incredible amount of self-control and discipline to just be like, you got me, man.
Right on.
See you next week.
We're into the final couple minutes here, and I just want to mention, for people that are tuning in late, some things we talked about. Go back, rewatch the show. We talked about the Erik Jones Foundation coming to Birch Run Speedway in May. We talked about the Downright Awesome Night taking place, huge modified race. $5,000 to win. We talked about the construction projects. There's a new event center. The old gazebo is all enclosed now, and it's a nice private area. Track resurfacing. The new bar's coming along. The biggest bar in Michigan. Going to run the entire length of the grandstands there on the front side, and you guys are going to want to reread and check out on that. We talked about the bowling fundraiser that Chuck did or participated in. I'll give you all the credit. How's that, Chuck? You did it completely by yourself.
No,
Yes.
no.
Chuck,
By far,
Chuck
and away,
is Barf.
that event is not a one-man show. I
it's
couldn't
not.
do it without my friends, my family. Most importantly, my family. I mean, they keep my sanity. I was kind of pulling my hair a little bit, and I'm like, well, if this is what a promoter has to do, I don't know as if I. But anyway, yeah, it's a great event, and we're just happy to be able to host it and help out two charities in need.
Absolutely. We had a couple other comments that came in, and I think we answered one of them, which was Eric Gilbert wants to know who is running the safety equipment. I don't think the announcement of who has been made yet, but it's going to be an in-house team.
Yeah, I believe that's what Jason was alluding to in the last stream, that they were bringing it in-house instead of outsourcing it.
Absolutely. And it's funny how things go. We're coming up on spring break. Jason was on his way to spring break. Jeff's on his way back from Florida, coming back to Michigan. So they're transitioning and they're in transit today, and it just happened to overlap the time of the show. So if you're wondering where Jeff and Jason are, they're not locked in the basement. We don't have them in the dungeon. They're not conspiring. They're taking a break. They've been working hard.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie Johnson says he can't wait to get on the new track. And Jason Parton says, hey, I like all the driver name, car number, class, how long you've been winning, if you win a championship. Put it all on paper. He wants to know all that.
Yep, Jason, our track photographer, going to do some special things this year for us at Birch Run Speedway. I've seen him dropping hints about it. Can't wait to see what he's got up his sleeve and, talk to them guys in Victory Lane and take their pictures.
Fantastic. Really good photographer who owes me some photos.
Yeah.
Sandy Yo says, I knew an announcer that sang Go for a Living. I'll bet you know who that she's talking about.
Oh, no. No, I don't, actually.
No?
Hmm.
I think that goes back to the Owasso Auto City days. But maybe we'll ask Sandy so we don't say the wrong name, because whenever I say the wrong name, I get skewered. Final minute. Chuck, you got any final comments before we wrap this up?
No, thanks for having me on the show. Nice to see my podcast idea kind of blossomed into this. It's all the bells and whistles and a whole lot more. Thank you guys for having me. Just looking forward to a great 2022 season. I can't wait to get up in the broadcast tower, with my buddy Ed, call the racing action. And, I got to give a shout out to the Eva Destruction drivers. We've got all these big announcements and stuff going on. And, man, they have a whole cast of characters. I mean, I looked at it, 57 registered drivers that signed in between the last two events that I called. I mean, it's going to be a blast. And with the return of the Mile of Mayhem at the beginning and at the end of this season, with a cash grab thrown in there, I believe John's going to be doing some stunts at a couple of them, fireworks show. It's going to be a great time on the Eva Destruction. Not just our regular nights, but the Eva Destruction nights are going to be awesome as well.
Zach, that's a great idea, and it's probably something we should work on. Why don't we grab, like, DeLong and John and some of these other guys, and let's build a whole episode just around EOD.
Oh, yeah. Just, and showing off some of the destroyed cars in the background.
Right?
might be definitely worth a fun time, just seeing the carnage that can happen in the events. So, with that, I think, unless Patrick, you had anything to add, I think we can call this.
we're probably going to talk about this more next week, but most of the folks who know me know that I own a food truck, right? We've decided to rename the food truck the Dixie Classic Fair. And we're going to park it pit side on Friday nights, and we're going to do the pit concessions. And we're going to raise pit concessions to a whole new level, but yet keep the prices down. So following that same mindset, do something better and charge folks less. That's what we're going to try and do out of the Classic Fair.
Awesome.
And that's all I got.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful Monday night evening. Just recapping some of the excitement that's been happening at Birch Run Speedway. I'd like to thank you all for coming out on our various platforms. Check us out on Facebook. Check out Race Night as well, a new subscription service that's going to be developing for racetracks across the state of Michigan. And so, with that, that has been just a peek at what's going on under the hood.